Los Angeles, August 1969. The city glows under the warm haze of a California night. From the hills above Hollywood, you can see the glitter of Sunset Boulevard, the twinkle of studio lights, the quiet promise of fame and fortune. But on Cielo Drive, that glow is about to be stained with terror. Inside a secluded mansion, a pregnant movie star sleeps, unaware that a small band of strangers, hippies with knives and twisted devotion, are on their way. By morning, 5 people will be dead, and the dream of the 1960s will be over. This is the story of Charles Manson and the murders that turned a counterculture fantasy into a national nightmare. Charles Mills Manson's life began on the margins. Born in 1934 to a 16-year-old single mother in Cincinnati, his childhood was a cycle of abandonment and petty crime. He bounced from relatives to foster homes, reform schools to prison cells. Even as a boy, he learned to charm and control. Teachers noticed his quick mind, his ability to read people's weaknesses, but his world was one of neglect and punishment. By his early 20s, Manson had spent more time behind bars than free. He was small, barely 5'6", but he learned to use words like weapons. In 1967, the so-called Summer of Love, Manson was paroled. He arrived in San Francisco just as the Haight-Ashbury district overflowed with music, drugs, and free love. To young drifters searching for meaning, Manson seemed almost mystical. He played guitar, quoted the Bible and the Beatles, and promised a new way of living. He called it the family. Manson's family was less about love than control. Mostly young women, runaways, students, seekers, gathered around him. They gave up their names and belongings. He preached that society was corrupt and only he understood the truth. At the heart of his teachings was an apocalyptic vision he called Helter Skelter, borrowed from a Beatles song. Manson believed a race war was coming. Black Americans would rise up, kill the white establishment, and inherit the earth. But, he told his followers, they were too ignorant to lead. After the chaos, the family would emerge from hiding to rule the new world. At the Spawn Movie Ranch outside Los Angeles, a crumbling former Western film set, the family lived in makeshift shacks and old movie props. Manson stripped away individuality, encouraging LSD trips, communal sex, and blind obedience. He convinced his followers that murder could spark the race war that would bring his prophecy to life. The violence started small. In July 1969, music teacher Gary Hinman, a casual acquaintance of the family, was tortured and killed. Manson believed Hinman had money and connections. Family members wrote "Political Piggy" on the wall in Hinman's blood. Days later, Manson follower Bobby Beausoleil was arrested for the murder. To divert police attention and make it look like the work of black revolutionaries, Manson plotted more killings. Bigger, more shocking. The house at 150 Cielo Drive was rented by film director Roman Polanski and his wife, actress Sharon Tate, who was 8.5 months pregnant. Polanski was in London, but Tate had friends staying with her. Jay Sebring, a Hollywood hairstylist, Abigail Folger, coffee heiress, and Wojciech Frykowski, a Polish actor. On the night of August 8th, Manson ordered Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian to the house. Their instructions: kill everyone. Around midnight, they climbed the gate. Stephen Parent, an 18-year-old visiting the property's caretaker, was shot in his car. Inside, the killers attacked with knives and a .22 revolver. Tate begged for the life of her unborn child. She was stabbed 16 times. Sebring, Folger, and Frykowski were murdered in a frenzy of gunshots and blade wounds. Before leaving, Atkins used Tate's blood to scrawl the word "pig" on the front door. The next night, Manson himself joined a search for a second target. He led his followers to the Los Feliz home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca, a wealthy supermarket owner and his wife. Manson tied them up, then left as his followers killed the couple with knives and a carving fork. They wrote phrases like Helter Skelter, Death to Pigs, and Rise on the walls and refrigerator in blood. Los Angeles was paralyzed. Hollywood's elite hired private security. Gun stores sold out of weapons. The brutality, especially the killing of a glamorous, pregnant actress, seemed senseless. Rumors of satanic cults and drug wars filled the headlines. For months, the murders remained unsolved. Detectives chased false leads, drug deals gone bad, jealous rivals, even political radicals. The break came from an unlikely source, inside a jail cell. Susan Atkins, arrested on an unrelated charge, began boasting to fellow inmates about the killings. Her cellmates told authorities. Soon, detectives connected the Hinman and Tate LaBianca murders to Manson's followers. By December 1969, Manson, Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten, who had joined the LaBianca killings, were indicted. The trial would become one of the most infamous in American history. The trial began in June 1970. It was part courtroom drama, part circus. Manson carved an X into his forehead, later transforming it into a swastika. The women followed his lead, chanting and singing in unison. Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi laid out the theory of Helter Skelter, that Manson wanted to start a race war and believed the murders would be blamed on black revolutionaries. The evidence included confessions, witness testimony, and the chilling words written in blood. After 9 months, the jury found Manson and his followers guilty of 7 counts of murder. They were sentenced to death in March 1971. When California briefly abolished the death penalty in 1972, their sentences were commuted to life imprisonment. Charles Manson spent the rest of his life in prison, giving rambling interviews and maintaining his twisted charisma. He died in 2017 at age 83. His followers remain behind bars, with occasional parole hearings that spark public outrage. The murders permanently scarred the image of the 1960s. What had been a decade of music, protest, and idealism suddenly felt fragile. Hollywood, once a symbol of carefree glamour, became a place of fear. Security gates went up. Celebrities bought guard dogs and guns. The counterculture's promise of peace and love was replaced by a darker realization. Manipulation and violence can hide behind a smile and a song. The Manson family murders were more than brutal crimes. They were a cultural rupture. They showed how a single man's delusions, fueled by ego and apocalyptic fantasy, could seduce ordinary young people into unimaginable violence. 50 years later, the echoes remain. In films, books, and the uneasy knowledge that under the right conditions, a charismatic predator can turn a dream into a nightmare.